know we don't have so much time, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to get a little bit intense. It's very important, I think, to discuss and for people to understand just how extreme the experiences of those who are in the kibbutzim were.
When you walk into a kibbutz is a beautiful grass and beautiful, pure, like I would say, I would call it Gan Eden, paradise. When you walk through paradise, you feel like you're in a beautiful place, quiet, birds, feeling like you're in a beautiful place. And then you start looking around and smelling the smell and seeing the marks around the houses and going through house by house, collecting children killed in brutal ways, seeing adults in different situations tied back to back. You see the family was separate in different rooms, children, youngsters, and what they went through. You can't even imagine what happened in those minutes. When we're dealing with it, going constantly from house to house, that was our mission. So we're working like robots, basically, doing that, collecting those bodies. Because you can't stop and think. Because if you do it, you fall apart. When you walk into a house and you see on one side of the room 2 bodies sitting in chairs, tied to chairs, and opposite them, on the other side of the room, you see 3 kids sitting in chairs. Those 3 kids saw their parents being tortured. The parents' heads were blown off with grenades. That means they saw the children getting tortured, and they moved. While they moved, the grenade blew up. Those children were missing fingers, were poked in different objects on their body, went through scary things. Feel those children sitting opposite their parents. Feel those parents seeing what they're doing to the children. Understanding what they went through. If you see the WhatsApp groups of the Kibbutzim, how they're asking for help. They're coming into my house. They're burning down the house. I can't breathe because I'm choking from the smoke. I'm holding the handle of the door for the last moments of my life. I love you. I miss you. Lists of what to take into a shelter room. Bring water, bring food, bring canned food. Give mommy a hug. That's off the list. Because mommy's never going to give a hug anymore. Because she was killed in brutal ways. That's what we saw. That's what they went through in those minutes. And we're not talking about minutes, we're talking about hours and days. We walked into Kibbutz Kfar Aza. It was Wednesday when we got shot at from one on the roof. We were still waiting there. So first responders came in, the army came in, and still waiting and waiting.
From Saturday till Wednesday.
I'm talking about 5 days almost. 4.5 days, almost 5 days. And the terrorists were still laying on the roof, waiting. Everything should calm down. And then they jumped down. And they were shooting towards us. Because 4.5 hours we were locked in one of the houses. 40 men, Zaka. We were locked in the house. And we were shaking. Collecting bodies on the highway, being shot at from terrorists jumping out of the fields. You jumped right into one of the pits on the roads, the side of the road, and you're laying on your right side. There's the body. On your left side there's the body. You say to yourself, God, what am I doing here?
So why was it so integral for you to and for Zaka to go and find those bodies so soon after, when you knew the danger that was awaiting you to go to that region?
There's two reasons. Number one, anybody that stayed in the scenes could have been captured and taken to Gaza. We had those situations, so we had to work fast. Number two, according to Halakha, according to the Bible, to be able to identify a body for 100%, you have to face to face and say, okay, this is my member, this is my father, this is my sister, this is my family member. So according to Halakha, we wanted to do it the best way, the right way, not to need to start checking DNA tests and yes and no. The families are waiting to know what happened to their beloved. You don't have time to wait. For sure, it took us 3 months to clean the houses afterwards, after we cleared out all the bodies and made sure that no one's left behind. But then it took us time to clear the houses and clean them. We're not talking about that point. We're talking about the minutes of the families, whoever did survive and was able to run away, sitting and waiting for answers. What happened to their beloveds? Did they die? Which way did they die? Or what happened to them? To try to identify those bodies, Zaka came and did it as fast as we could. And we had to make sure, not only that, when you came on highways and we saw hundreds of cars, talking about over 1,700 cars were brought into a parking lot. And all those cars were full with dead bodies. Here you had parts, there you had parts. Not all of them were full of bodies, but hundreds of them were still with stains of bodies that were inside from the rape party, from the Kibbutzim itself. People were trying to run away from main highways. You see cars with baby seats inside and full of blood. We collect the bodies from there, from highways. The population in Israel went through something that you cannot imagine in your lifetime. As a Zaka member, 32 years, I saw buses blow up. I saw restaurants that burned. I saw people get killed in brutal ways, but not in situations like this. This was mass brutal ways, and to make sure that everyone's scared and doing things like that just to make sure that the other side gets more and more scared and not capable to really to survive and to live with it. That was one of the main points over here, to get us frightened and to push us up to our limit. And this is what we're coping with. And the people that are in the Kibbutzim, think about them, what they were going through, hours and hours and hours.
Are you able to articulate some of the most difficult scenes that you had to walk into? Some of those ones that you've had to dig deep into your stomach to try never to think about again. Would you feel comfortable talking about one or two of those situations?
Well, when I came to the houses, the women were naked totally, and there were nails and different objects in their personal body parts. You're dealing with something that you can't understand. How a human being could do something like that. Cutting limbs of women, just throwing them away, just doing it again and again. I'm not talking about one house, two houses. To say, okay, these were the barbarian. We saw it more and more and more. And questioning again why we're 75 or 90% of the women naked or hardly had clothes on them. Well, they didn't go to sleep like that. Basically, I don't know if someone that goes to sleep and ties his hands behind his back. Oh, puts a goggle on their mouth and getting shot by the back of the head. These are things that the bodies were constantly again and again and again. And we were sitting there. We were walking into houses and seeing soldiers were with us. They ran into the house, made sure there's no terrorists, and they said, Zaka, get in, clear out. Some houses, they walked in and they walked right out. They said, we can't see it's going to be hard on you this time. And every house that we went in became harder and harder. We were working with groups of 6, and we walked into one of the houses, and we said, the guy came out and he says, this is way beyond what we understand. Bring more members to help you. And the guys walked in and walked out. And we said to the guys, we have to take care of this. We can't just leave them here. It took us time to deal with it. But we made sure that nothing stays behind. That really we should be able to collect whatever there is. Talking about houses, clearing them out afterwards, cleaning them. Talking about houses that grenades were blown up. Talking about shelters that you had 7 or 8 members of a family. 2 families in one room. And you had there 5 or 6 grenades thrown in. It took us 16 to 18 hours cleaning the house, the room over there. Floors, ceilings, everything around was blasted with blood and DNA samples of their body. Okay? Tissue. It's something that you can't understand. It's a war zone. And you're talking about a normal kibbutz, lovely life, quiet, peaceful people. That's what we know.
Are you able to touch on your experience when meeting the families of those from the Kibbutzim, where you saw their family members in the state in which they were deceased?
A lot of people try to reach out to us. We cannot give them any information what really happened in those houses. Because what's the point of it? So we say you should know, you're remembering, you're reminding whatever you remember from before. You should always perish those things. My father was deceased when I was 5 years old. How much do I remember about him? I remember one thing, the last smile. And that's what I keep with me. So why should I let someone live his rest of his life by thinking what terrible things could have happened to their members? They know what happened. Some of them and some of them don't. But it's better to continue your life knowing that we found them and we buried them. We have the place. Some of them don't have burial. Some of them are burned. Some of them were captured still. By giving them the hope, by giving them the feeling that they can continue their life, it's not something that they're not going to have and live with it. They'll have to live with it. But at least we gave them a little bit of a hope and a feeling that they were taken care of. We didn't just leave them and ran away. We're giving them hope. And that hope, we hope that really will give them some good spirits.
Let me ask, when entering the Nova Festival, how stark was that juxtaposition between the joy and the Simcha of a festival relative to the barbarism that you saw firsthand?
It's scary to understand. People were in the best level of life, dancing, having the best parties, and you see the scene itself, and you could stand over there and close your eyes and hear the music. If you'd be feeling it, looking around, you see tents, you see open chairs and different things, and you see the festival. You see the bar. You see, and you say to yourself, "Wow, these guys had a great time." And then, boom! In a second, they started hearing shooting, and missiles, and the terror, and who's gonna live and who's not gonna live, and everyone's running and trying to run away, and you're trying to drive out, and you're stuck. And that understanding that you don't know what happened really in those minutes, but the cameras. And then you see the videos. You say to yourself, wow. From as high as you can get in joy to the lowest down to sadness of not understanding how it could happen. But that's like black and white. There's no gray over here. It's black and white.
Thank you very, very much for your time. And is there anything else specific you'd like to sort of mention while the camera's over here?
As we said before, everyone has to push and to explain and come see the scenes. Come to Israel if you don't believe. Come to Israel if you don't connect to the situation. If it's hard to you to connect, you'll come to Israel, you'll feel it. You'll see the houses, you'll see the places that people are slaughtered and killed. And then maybe you'll understand what Israel's going through. You'll see how close Gaza is to those kibbutzim. That means they were living their life in peace, hoping for peace. And one day, everything switched. We hope that peace will be one day. And Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you very, very much, Simcha. I appreciate it.